Nothing like a good licorice flavored bat fruit noodle. This is probably one of the easier to recognize wild snacks here in Costa Rica's rainforests and elsewhere in Central and South America as well. I mean, its wide range is reflected in just the sheer variety of names you'll find for this thing. Anacejo, hinojo, root beer plant, Mexican pepper leaf. On pepper leaf, this is in the genus Piper, which is the same as black pepper, and you can kind of see the similarity in how the leaves look. Lots of good flavors in that genus. And once you know what they look like, they're pretty easy to recognize. I mean, you've got these odd-looking flower and fruit stalks to begin with. Just little noodly pencils sticking up and drooping. Classic stuff for the Piper genus. And you see the leaf stalks that kind of wrap around the stem, and then big, roughly heart-shaped leaves with kind of mismatched lobes at the end. Sometimes they're the same, but often asymmetrical. And of course, a nice sweet aroma. Now, what it actually smells like, that's a bit debated. One of the English names for it is root beer plant. I don't quite see that. Maybe hints of root beer, hints of sarsaparilla, maybe some sassafras like old-fashioned root beer. But the dominant note is still definitely something more like licorice or anise. Actually, this one I taste a little bit more sassafras, so maybe I'll revise that opinion actually. I'm tasting a bit more of the root beer flavor in this one. Interesting. People make all kinds of other comparisons with the flavor which are a bit strange to me, so I don't know, maybe it varies a bit from plant to plant. You can find these popping up all over breaks in the canopy, trail sides, maybe deforested areas, other disturbed areas. They're usually one of the first plants to pop up in areas like that, and they grow quite quickly. So understandably, those being the sorts of areas humans tend to be in, this has found a lot of use for people throughout its range. For one, it's got pretty big leaves, so it's often used to wrap meat for cooking. In Mexico, they put it in soups, sweets, chocolate, mole, tamales, and boy, it goes well in scrambled eggs. I don't know if this is a thing that's done really, but I put it in some rice pudding along with cinnamon leaf, and that turned out awfully scrumptious. You can make a tea from it too, and a pretty good one at that, although one of the few that I would definitely sweeten. The younger fruit and flower stalks here are also edible. This one's just starting to flower here, but it tastes like, well, yeah, a lot just like the rest of the plant. Kind of anise, and yeah, this one does taste a little bit more like root beer. That's interesting. But on that note, as just a small note of caution with these, this plant in its leaves, it does have safrole, a chemical also found in sassafras, which is fine in small amounts. It's not great if you have it in large amounts. So everything in moderation, of course. But an interesting thing with these are kind of odd looking little fruit and flower structures here. Like the flowers are almost too small to see, and the fruits are kind of likewise less than a millimeter across, little tiny granules. So it may not look at first glance like great food value here, something more just that the plant just scatters and disperses. But interestingly, these are mainly dispersed by animals, mainly bats. Some bats, known as piperphiles, this can even be the main part of their diet. These fruits are quite tiny but also quite plentiful, and the stalk just snaps off really easily. So bats will often come along, snap off a stick of fruit, bring it back to their roost, and eat it there and scatter some of the seeds in the process. The bats are great at sniffing these things out, which is part of why these things, in most Piper species, don't need to be brightly colored. I mean, if the bat is using echolocation at night, bright colors aren't going to mean a whole lot. So instead it sticks out by its smell, its shape, and just kind of its placement, not being just, hidden amongst the leaves. Interestingly, different species of Piper growing in the same area will often have kind of staggered fruiting times. So like this one will fruit for a few weeks, then that one will fruit for a few weeks, and so on and so forth, so that there aren't any significant gaps and bats can kind of be fed the whole time and not go hungry. Nice when plants are considerate like that. So anyway, that's the Anacejo, hoja santa, licorice bat noodle, whatever you want to call it. A fun little snack in the rainforests here. There's more to be said about it, but that's all I have for today. Thank you for liking, commenting, and subscribing. And for more weird and wonderful plants from around the world, join me next time on Ambling with Sam.